Buying new lenses for mirrorless cameras can get expensive really quickly. I found myself content with my 2 zoom lens, but I still wanted to delve into prime lenses. I just couldn't justify the price. So, to fill that void, I looked at vintage glass. My friend recommended Olympus lenses because of their quality and price. And he was right. I've really enjoyed using them and the photos I've made. For starters, they're very sharp. Most like to be stopped down to about f4, but even wide open, they're very nice. Them all being manual focus lenses means you have to slow down for each photo and really think about your composition. It's a much more careful and almost meditative experience. Their minimum focus distance is anywhere from 1 foot to 3 feet, meaning macro typically isn't an option, and chromatic aberrations are going to be apparent. If you shoot any lens wide open, and even some of them stop down, it can still get in the way. You may just have to play into it with the style of your shot, which is good because maybe you're intentionally going for that vintage look. So then wide open is great. You have a little bit of chromatic aberrations. You might even have vignetting in some, which is why I normally would suggest stopping down if you can. And you'll have a very nice blurry background. Now the lens's faults are working for you. Now taking a look at all the lenses that I have, this is a 28mm f2.8 Tamron lens. I do really like this one for travel, since if I have to choose a prime, choosing wider is normally safer. It's a lot easier to hit focus than something like a 50. It isn't tack sharp, but that doesn't make me hesitate to pick it up. I really enjoy using this one. And 2.8 is definitely bright enough for most situations. The next farther focal length I have is a 51.8. This is an Olympus lens. It's absolutely my favorite out of the bunch. Shooting all the way wide open at 1.8 makes really nice backgrounds, and if I really need the sharpest image, I can stop down to f4. So for portraits, this is absolutely a beautiful lens. I also have an Olympus 65-200 zoom lens. The maximum aperture in this is f4, so it's not the brightest. I want to use this one professionally because it doesn't have the best contrast, and it always has a little bit of haze even if you stop down once or twice. It's still a very fun lens, I just don't find myself picking it up very often, but I am glad to have it. Next, I have my Olympus 135mm f3.5. This is a very nice focal length for portraits. It creates very nice bokeh at 3.5, even if you stop down once or twice. It's still going to create very good separation from the subject and the background. f3.5 is still a lot of light, and I don't find myself struggling to make this work. It's not as sharp as my 50mm, but it's still very nice to use, and I really enjoy it. Lastly, I have an Olympus 200mm f4. This is in a similar boat for use cases as my 65-200. It's a little hazy and doesn't have the best contrast, and the maximum aperture is f4, but I do believe it's a tad sharper than the 65-200. It also weighs noticeably less, so if I went into a shoot knowing that I would need a telephoto Olympus lens, I'd pick this one up first. Lastly, I have a Solagore 2x teleconverter. I primarily bought this for fun just because I wanted to see how far I could push the Olympus lenses. And it's fun to use, but it kills a lot of light when you put a teleconverter on. And I don't often find myself having to reach that far. I'm glad I have it, but it's really just too much of a limited use case. So, obviously, there's a lot of advantages to using these lenses. So, what might be the drawbacks? Well, first of all, they're all made of metal, so they're very heavy. Most modern lenses have a lot of plastic components to keep the weight down, but these lenses don't have that luxury. Mount adapters also stick the lens out quite a good bit. It's a little over an inch. And they're not good for every use. For instance, I want to use them for event videography because it's a manual focus lens, so if you miss focus in the moment and something happened, you can't repeat it. So I think they're better fit for photography sessions and studio scenarios where you can repeat actions to make sure you hit focus. And if you're traveling and want to use these lenses to take photos of your vacation, you have to slow down a lot to get that photo. So if you're with a group, you may drag them down a little bit. So either hope they have patience or choose an autofocus lens. They're also not just available at Walmart or Amazon. You gotta hunt for them on various websites to make sure you get a good deal or even find them at all. Now, what if you were looking to purchase these? How might you go about it? Well, when you search up Olympus lenses, most of the primes will pull up for about $80 or more, and that's not a really good deal from what I found. For these lenses I have, I've never paid more than $20 for a single one. There's deals out there, you just have to dig for them. Actually, the most expensive piece of hardware I bought for the Olympus lenses is the mount adapter. While searching online, you should be able to find all the classic prime focal lengths. There are a lot of zooms, but I tend to avoid them, especially after purchasing the 65-200. They're just typically not as sharp or as bright as the primes, so I tend to stay away from zoom lenses. If there's some drawbacks, it's a little challenge. If there's a lot of drawbacks, it's a poor lens, so I tend to just stick with the primes that I know will perform well. This video isn't a comprehensive review of all the Olympus lenses. There's a lot of lenses out there that have a lot of good strengths and weaknesses, but I just wanted to talk about my experiences with a few I had. When purchasing them, don't take it too seriously. If you find a good deal on one and reviews online say it's a good lens, go for it. Sometimes buying a weird lens that may not perform very well can force you to get creative and make better photos. And you're most likely buying these for a change in pace anyway, so that might be exactly what you want.
Do you think these lenses are worth their drawbacks? And what do you find they sell most? Thanks for watching.